Hi Winederlusters, and welcome back to Series 9. We're taking a little detour to fabulous France. And in this first episode, it's my top 5 tips of visiting France. Bonjour Winederlusters! My name's Jeanene and I love wine travel. And in this season, we are leaving Australia and we're heading to beautiful France. I'm speaking to a bunch of wine lovers and wine experts that have lived and worked in France. And we learn all about different regions outside of the capital. And I share a couple of my tips. So grab yourself a glass and let's get exploring. A few years ago, I went to France for about a month. We travelled all around and I learned so much about wine. I think this is where I fell in love with wine. But there were so many other wonderful things that we saw and did. So I'm going to give some top tips of mine for visiting France. It won't hit on restaurant and hotel recommendations because those things change so much. So these are just some overviews to consider when you're planning your itinerary. So in no particular order. Number 1, if there is a French food or drink that you love, there's likely a place that it's named after, and then put that place into your itinerary. Of course, there's Champagne, Burgundy, Bordeaux. But if you're a cheese lover, there's also a town of Camembert and a town of Roquefort. I know not long before I went on my trip, I discovered Chablis. And when I knew there was a place called Chablis, I shoehorned one night into my itinerary, and I'm so glad that I did. I have fantastic memories of sitting in the little town square of the town of Chablis. There was Chablis on tap. There were some little cellar doors around us that we got to visit. Stayed in a wonderful hotel with the best dessert trolley I've ever seen, and it was just a fantastic memory. Some other places that I stumbled across which I'd never heard of before I went was there's actually a town called Cognac. It's located between the Loire Valley and Bordeaux. When we saw the sign, my friend who's a brandy lover, we detoured in, and it was great. There was this port with these big cognac houses all around it. It was very last minute, but we were able to get a tour. And if I'd known about it earlier, then I would have probably researched that a bit more. I'd stayed a night potentially. There's also a little town called Vouvray in the Loire Valley. Now, you will see Vouvray on labels in bottle shops, and it's actually a Chenin Blanc from this little village, and it is such a delicious wine. So check out a Vouvray, but if you get to anywhere near the Loire Valley, I strongly recommend visiting. Number 2, stay somewhere that people usually just do day trips to. So for example, we stayed a night at Mont Saint-Michel. It's that beautiful abbey high up on a hill. It's like a little village all around it. It's not just an abbey. There's a little village there. It's not just an abbey. And it's little winding alleyways. There's a few hotels and a few restaurants. That place is so busy during the day. There's buses and buses of people come in from Paris. But in the evening, it's absolutely deserted. And it was so wonderful to walk around those little tiny streets with no people there. Other ones that you could stay at was in Carcassonne Castle in southern France. And also the little village where Monet's garden is. You can stay in accommodation, which is literally 3 or 4 minutes walk from the gardens. My third tip, while cities are super convenient and they have lots of attractions, get out and enjoy the villages. That village life in France is just so unique, and it really can be a bit like the movies with all the little shops. Some of my favourite areas was the hilltop villages of Provence. There's Gordes and Roussillon, and in Roussillon all the buildings are coloured this ochre colour, which is really quite stunning to see. And also the villages in Burgundy. All those prestigious wines come from these little village areas, and hot tip is the closer you are to the source of the wine, the better value you can get the wine for. Not necessarily cheap for Burgundy, but a better value. Of course, these are just 2 examples, and wherever you go across all of France, there is gorgeous little villages. Number 4, while I do love my wine, I also love a bit of fashion. And Paris has some amazing fashion museums, but you can find fashion museums across the country as well. One of my favourites was in a town called Granville, which is on the coast. You can actually get the ferry to and from Guernsey Island This has the summer house that Christian Dior spent his summer holidays at as a child. And it's now a museum full of gorgeous dresses on display. It's a very quaint little town and this wonderful museum there. And my number 5 tip is take a break from the trains and the car and jump on a cycling or walking tour. A friend and I spent a week on an independent tour where we cycled around the towns and villages of Burgundy. The tour company provided the itinerary, booked all the accommodation, gave us some tips of which cellar doors spoke English and were amenable to tourists popping by. And then they moved our luggage each day. So it was super convenient and a really lovely way to see a bit of the countryside. Now, if you're listening to this on the day it drops, it's Bastille Day. And there's some great activities happening around the country. I'm based in Canberra, and the fantastic Bistromnes restaurant has a week of different dinners to celebrate in Canberra. Later this season, I'm also chatting to Chef Christophe, who ran the former Les Très Bon restaurant. But his Les Très Bon Facebook page is still active, and they've got a Facebook Live tonight. So anywhere around Australia or the world, you can join in and share in with what they're cooking and preparing. And I think it's something to do with truffles. If you're anywhere near Canberra during winter, you can look them up because they also do truffle hunts. There's the Sydney French Festival on the 17th to the 20th of July. And there's a Bastille Day Soiree in Melbourne on the 19th. So just a recap of my top 5. Number 1, if you love a French food or drink, check if you can add this place into your itinerary. Number 2, stay somewhere that people do day trips to. Number 3, get out of the city and check out the villages. Number 4, maybe detour into fashion for a bit. And number 5, consider a cycling or walking tour for part of your holiday. So I hope you can use these in your itinerary. For the rest of this season, I've got lots of really interesting people to chat to over the next 6 episodes, and I hope you'll listen in and get some more tips for your fabulous holiday to France. Until next time, happy wine travels.
Thank you so much for listening. You can subscribe now to get each episode as they drop. You can also check out this podcast on YouTube and see pictures of the region and the people I've spoken to. Go to winederlust.au, that's winederlust.au for everything discussed today. You can also subscribe to my newsletter to hear all about my upcoming events and other news. Till next time, happy wine travels.